Authorities initially described the death of Kendrick Johnson as a tragic accident. The 17-year-old had been found inside a rolled wrestling mat in the gymnasium of Lowndes High School in January 2013. Investigators concluded that Kendrick likely climbed headfirst into the upright mat while trying to retrieve a shoe stored inside. According to the official explanation, he became trapped and died from positional asphyxia. The case was quickly ruled an accident, but months later, a crime scene photograph from the gym began circulating outside official files. The image itself was not graphic. It showed the gym floor, the upright wrestling mats, and the area where Kendrick's body had been discovered. Yet the photograph raised new questions. Some observers believed the positioning of the mats and the surrounding space looked unusually undisturbed. Others questioned how a student could slide completely into such a narrow mat without shifting nearby equipment or drawing attention in a busy school building. If investigators had documented the scene this carefully from the start, critics asked, why had the case been closed so quickly? Kendrick Johnson grew up in the small city of Valdosta in a close-knit family. Friends described him as athletic and outgoing, a student who spent a lot of time in the school gym between classes. On January 11, 2013, Kendrick attended school as usual. Surveillance cameras captured him walking through the hallways during the day. Later that afternoon, when he did not return home, his family became concerned. The next day, students entering the gym noticed something alarming, a pair of feet visible from the opening of a vertical wrestling mat. School staff contacted authorities, who arrived and recovered Kendrick's body. Investigators soon focused on how students often stored shoes inside the hollow center of the rolled mats. According to their reconstruction, Kendrick may have leaned into mat to retrieve a shoe and slipped down headfirst. The narrow space would have made it difficult for him to free himself. In May 2013, officials ruled the death accidental. However, Kendrick's family publicly challenged that conclusion almost immediately. They questioned the timeline, the surveillance coverage near the gym, and the circumstances surrounding the discovery of his body. When crime scene photographs later surfaced through media reports and public records, they intensified those concerns. Journalists and independent observers began examining the images closely. Some believed the photographs suggested investigative gaps. Others argued that a still image could not fully explain the dynamics of the scene. The controversy grew large enough that additional agencies reviewed the case. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation and the United States Department of Justice examined available evidence to determine whether criminal activity had been overlooked. During these reviews, investigators reevaluated surveillance footage, witness statements, and the medical findings from the autopsy. The original medical examiner concluded that Kendrick died from positional asphyxia, consistent with the accident scenario. However, the family later requested independent forensic examinations. Some pathologists questioned aspects of findings, while others maintained the original explanation remained plausible. Despite the scrutiny, federal investigators eventually concluded that the evidence did not support criminal charges. The official ruling of accidental death remained unchanged. Still, the case never completely faded from public attention. For Kendrick's family, the questions raised by the photographs and by the investigation itself have never fully been resolved. They have continued to advocate for transparency and additional review of the evidence. For investigators and legal experts, the case highlights how a single image can transform public understanding of an investigation. Crime scene photographs are normally collected as routine documentation. They help investigators preserve the original conditions of a scene for later analysis. But when such images become public through leaks, court records, or investigative reporting, they can sometimes reveal details that were never part of the original explanation. In Kendrick Johnson's case, the photograph did not definitively prove a different cause of death. What it did was raise doubt. It prompted journalists, experts, and the public to re-examine a conclusion that had already been declared final. Years later, the debate surrounding the case continues. Authorities stand by their findings. Kendrick's family continues to seek answers. And the photograph that quietly left an investigative file remains a reminder of how a single overlooked image can reopen questions long after a case is closed.